Okay. So, let's see. What's the discussion about this week? Oh, defining ethics and what is ethical behavior. What would we describe as ethical behavior? Um, basically, what I got is like defining ethics within an organization is really important because every organization values different ethics and has different ethics at the forefront. So if it's not defined, then you don't even know where your place in the organization is in a way.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty simple. Ethics to me means, how the if the making basically having ethics as an organization is doing the right thing for its employees and for if they're selling something for its consumers. Um, I think like I'll start it off. I think what I was reading about how power can um, create more of a I guess you could say a problem for a problem for people in power is because they having that power, they have more access to different things and they have the ability to maybe abuse their power in more ways. I was watching this not Netflix documentary about these like crooked police officers in New York. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they were they were police officers in New York and they got involved with like some drug dealers, some cartels, and they ended up basically making it their side business. And they basically used their knowledge and their power as police officers to take advantage and, do home invasions, steal money. And they knew when raids were going to happen, and they worked really closely with um, these drug dealers. And I think that's something about ethics that if somebody abuses their power, it can get real unethical, and that's what I saw.
I think the best way that I could think about it is I'm from like by Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and there's a lot of steel mills. So like whenever people start immigrating here and moving and working in steel mills, the conditions were kind of like sweatshops. I mean, working in a steel mill is not fun. It's hot. It means terrible conditions and it's really dangerous. You can die. And people don't really make much that work in steel mills back then. That's a bad sense of ethics because it was really just like screwing over a lot of families, paying them pretty much nothing to work in just horrible conditions all day. That's not very ethical, and I think that steel mills have made like a huge effort to like give a better work environment, and you make a lot of money to work in a steel mill now. So
Okay. Yeah. So just adding to what Michael was saying about abusing, the power that you have. In our book, I read something real quick on page 362, where they talk about the challenges of leadership, and many of the challenges is pretty much being unethical, is abusing, being unresponsible. That's being unethical. Abusing the power that you have as a manager or a staff member or whatever. That's also being unethical. Abusing your privilege that you have within your group of your team members or whoever you're working with your business. Being in loyalty, not being loyal to the people that you work with, your team, right? That's being very unethical. And yeah, that covers the ones. And also, I used to work at a place that managers, they would kind of they would hire pretty women for not just for the business. They would hire for themselves. They would hire to make them look good. They were hired to try to get with them later on. And I thought in that way, when it was very unethical, it wasn't the right way for you to run a business. And like I said, unethics, will kind of, let's say, like it will fail a business if you don't perform it right. So yeah.
do you think that it's unethical to have any business that has like hires look based like Hooters, for example, or like Bikini Bean or something like that?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Do you think that it's unethical to have any business that you hire people based on looks? Like if you were working at like Hooters or something?
I think, well, Hooters for that case, yeah, that's what they target, right? They target women that are, are sexy. Now, but I think it's unethical for you to hire someone just by their looks and not by their experience, their skills, their intelligence. I think what the inside talks a lot louder than the outside. So
yeah, no, I agree. I was just trying to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd say like ethics for me, and I live in like a really small community, and we had like a grocery store that people were embezzling money from for I think 2 years. They were embezzling money, and then they embezzled so much money that the store had to close down because they couldn't they just didn't have the money to operate. And I was like, that's such bad ethics. Like, first of all, to steal enough money from a company to have to shut down, you just lost your job because you're unethical, and you not only that, you like ruined so many people's lives who worked at that business. And now, like, in order to go grocery shopping for the people who live in that community, it's a neighboring community to mine. It's like a 45-minute drive to the nearest grocery store. And it was just like, it was shocking, but like, and I don't know about you guys, but in my community, there's embezzlement all the time.
What do you guys think of how do you guys think like managers should promote ethical behavior in their employees?
I don't really know. Really, I think like just managers, however like a book tells them to, whatever like corporate says, they should train ethics, whatever the HR department or.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I was looking at that, and I was reading that part of the book, The Challenge of Responsibility, and I think that's super important because I think like an easy example is, if managers have employees that report to them, and maybe they're closer than a normal manager direct report relationship usually would be, and maybe they don't come in one day because they said they were sick and they're one of the managers, but their direct reports see them, maybe at like Coachella or something like that. I think that's like something that has to do with ethics. Now the employee is going to think that's okay, and the manager's not promoting ethical behavior when they're doing something like that. So I think it's really on the managers to lead by example.
I had a manager once that had an ankle bracelet because he had too many DUIs. I mean, like that's just not someone that you want to have as your manager because he had like 4 DUIs, and people that have 4 DUIs is not something that you want to be as like a leader in any situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of gives a bad image to your team members. And I mean, I think Michael mentioned about how would a manager or a leader kind of promote ethical behavior within your group. I think it's just by teaching honesty. It comes from the leader. Followers will be influenced by the leader. So if the leader is honest, the leader has, let's say, is just working hard and performing like they have to, and being honest with not just the customers but the staff as well. I think it reflects in a way that their team members will follow. So
I think that maybe the best way might be when you see something that's unethical, stop it, and maybe not in a public setting, but a little bit in a public setting, kind of like so people see that you have to be ethical or you're going to get talked to or something. I don't know, because people are a product of their environment, so you kind of have to create the ethical environment. So whenever you see something unethical, you need to stop it.
Yeah,
at least that's what I think.
Yeah, I think training is like super important because if like you're an ethical person, then a lot of times you forget that some people aren't ethical. Some people aren't taught to do good things and be good. So you have to realize like, oh, I have to actually teach that person. I have to sit them down and tell them this is what is expected at all times, and this is what is never allowed to happen. So that way they know that from the get-go.
Mm.
Has there been any like ethical behaviors that you've seen in the workplace that you've had to like confront people on?
Yeah, I had one of my old job. So there was an employee that I worked with, and we were able to clock in. There was a way to clock in on our phones because it was like this weird way to clock in. It's very old school where you dial a number and they it's like called Chronotech, I think, something like that. And there was a way to like do that from your cell phone. And this guy would, clock in. He would definitely not be on time, but he would clock in from his phone, and it would always show that he was on time. And we there was a group of us that started to notice it, so we approached him and said, "Hey, you should probably cut that out just in case you don't want to get fired." And I didn't want to rat the guy out, but he's like, "Yeah, I get it. Thanks for the heads up." And then I guess he kept doing it because he ended up getting fired for it. So I think when you're in a situation where it's one of your coworkers, I think it's important to call that out in their best interest. But I also think it depends on the severity of what they're doing and having to maybe escalate that to a manager. But obviously, you don't want that person to lose their job if it's something they can fix, as soon as possible. But that's one situation I had.
Yeah, like I worked at like a lot of fast food places. Well, the last place I worked at, someone was stealing. She would like print customer receipts and then make her own food and be like, "Well, here's my receipt. I paid for the food." And I'm like, "You can't do that though. Like you're gonna get caught." And I was like this person's my friend, and I was like, I don't know if I should tell on you. But then eventually, like, when someone continually does something and you're like, you can't do that, eventually you have no choice.
Mm.
It's like, and I'm like, so I told one of my bosses, and like, they were so like, just like, okay, well, you can't do that anymore. Now you have to show me your receipt every time you bring food home. And I was like, but she was printing customers' receipts. She'll still do it when no one's watching. But that's mainly all the only experience I have with someone doing something unethical. What may?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's it. I don't. Do you have anything?
I was just gonna mention this past job that I had a couple years ago was I used to be a account executive sales rep for a restaurant distributor, and we were all divided into regions. So whatever restaurant were in our region, it was we were supposed to pursue it and go after them. But I had one of my coworkers. He liked to be competitive and kind of wanted to show that he's better than everybody, and I never liked that kind of coworker. But he kind of stepped out of his boundaries, stepped out of his region, and started targeting other people's restaurants. And I just thought that was very unethical of him, and which I proceed in talking to the manager and all that. So that's just a situation that I've been through where an unethical scenario came through.
Okay. Yeah, and Alex, you just do Lyft, right? Or
Yeah.
Uber? That's what you're doing right now? Yeah.
Because I usually live in Arizona, but I have a girlfriend that goes to Penn State, so I'm in Pennsylvania right now. So I just do Uber and Lyft rather than just look for a job while I'm just moving around.
Okay, yeah, it's easier.
Yeah. So I don't have much unethical stories. It's really hard to be unethical when driving with an Uber, honestly, or at least I don't know. I try to do my job the best I can, be friendly and nice. Maybe there's like, all right, so like maybe one unethical thing is like sometimes when I'm driving someone, like if you guys know what jewels are, like they'll just like hit their jewel, they're like out asking, and like I don't really care if they do it, but it's just like they're doing it in my car without asking or stuff like that, or like someone will bring in like half of a cigarette, or like they'll like put it out and not smoke the rest of it and get in my car. And I don't know.
Maybe if I could just mention something about not you, but maybe a Uber or Lyft driver being unethical is a few days ago, me and my girlfriend got an Uber, and the guy was he kind of put music on that we didn't like at all. It was kind of weird, and then he was also speaking to someone on the phone, not really talking to us and not giving us attention and wanting to know who he's taking home. I kind of thought that was unethical. But yeah, I'm sure you don't do that, but that's something a situation that I went through with an Uber driver.
I have friends that are girls and stuff that have said that Uber drivers have like hit on them or asked for them. That's obviously unethical. I mean, when I drive Lyft and Uber, like I try to dress nice or like present myself nice, have a clean car, use manners. I don't know. I put an effort.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure there's a lot that don't. Like I've been in Ubers that have smelled or have garbage in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Is there anything else that you guys want to address?
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good as well.
All right. So then we'll just have our projects submitted by Tuesday so I can put it together, and I'll put my email address on Canvas in the discussion section.
Sounds good.